Well, it's an interesting for me to reflect because I hadn't thought about it for quite a long time, but really it was because I had so many relatives that were dying at very young ages, and it led to a lot of curiosity as to why did this happen. So it made me start thinking about the biology of human beings and to pursue somehow that curiosity.
And did you finally find out a reason or perhaps a clue as to the origin of that fact?
Well, it got me into genetics and genomics quite early. In fact, when I was in college, I did a thesis on the prospects for gene therapy in man. It's taken a long time to us to get into genome editing now, but it was the idea that people had bad genes and were getting diseases, like in my family, at very young ages.
Okay, well, let's now talk about a visit to the doctor's office. I just went through that last week, and it's not a pleasant procedure.
Not at all. Yeah.
First of all, you have to call the secretary, and the doctor has an appointment maybe 2-3 weeks in the future. You go there. I waited some time.
Another pointer sociologist, Ferdinand Tunis, echoed Ferguson's ideas with his descriptions of two very different forms of social cohesion in traditional and modern society, a concept variously interpreted by many subsequent sociologists. Emily Durkheim founds the first European department of sociology at the University of Bordeaux and published the Rules of Sociological Methods, 1895. Charles Wright Mills and Hans Heinrich Goethe introduced Weber's ideas to the English-speaking public in from Max Weber, Essays in Sociology, 1946. Harold Garfinkel presents a new methodology for sociology, observing the everyday actions that foster social order in studies in ethnomethodology, 1967. Judith Butler questions traditional ideas of gender and sexuality in Gender Trouble, Feminism, and the Subversion of Identity, 1990. In their division of labor in society, Emily Durkheim described the organic solidarity of interdependent individual, 1893. Max Weber, in The Protestant Ethic and Spirit of Capitalism, offered a novel explanation of how modern society evolved, 1904 to 05. In The Sociological Imagination, Charles Wright Mills argues sociologists should suggest the names of improving society, 1959. Michael Foucault begins the study of the nature of power in society in Disciplined and Punished, 1975. Toward the end of the 19th century, sociology proved itself as a field of study distinct from history, philosophy, politics, and economics, largely thanks to Emily Durkheim adopting Comte's idea of applying scientific method to the study of society. He took biology as his model. Like Herbert Spencer before him, Durkheim saw society as an organism with different organs, each with a particular function. An interpretive approach, while Durkheim's objective rigor won him academic acceptance. Not all sociologists agree that it was possible to examine social issues with scientific methods, nor that there are laws of society to be discovered. Max Weber advocates a more subjective interpretive approach, whereas Marx named capitalism and Durkheim industrialization as the major force of modernity. Weber's focus was on the effect on individual of rationalization and secularization. A strict scientific discipline was gradually supplemented by sociology, that was a study of qualitative ideas in measurable nations such as culture, identity, and power. By the mid 20th century, sociologists have shifted from a microview of society to the microview of individual experience. Charles Wright Mills urged society to make the connection between the institution of society, especially what he called the power elite, and how they affect the lives of ordinary people. After World War II, others took a similar stance. Harold Garfinkel advocated a complete change of sociological method to examine social order through the everyday actions of ordinary people, while Michael Foucault analyzed the way power relation force individuals to conform to social norms, especially sexual norms, an idea taken further in Judith Butler's study of gender and sexuality. By the end of the century, a balance had been found between the objective study of society as a whole and the interpretive study of individual experience. The agenda had been set by a handful of groundbreaking sociologists, and their various methods are now being applied to the study of society in an increasingly globalized late modern world. Preliminary Chapter 1. Calculus Made Easy. Preliminary Chapter 1. What is function? No concept in mathematics, especially in calculus, is more fundamental than the concept of function. The term was first used in a 1673 letter written by Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, the German mathematician and philosopher who invented calculus, independently of Isaac Newton. Since then, the term has undergone a gradual extension of meaning.
Doctor. And then once you go there, what do? You get an EKG, blood test, and blood pressure, and out the door. And then I realized that, well, in principle, I could even have a heart attack after leaving the doctor's office, getting a clean bill of health. So tell us a little bit about how you got interested now in the future of medicine.
Well, the big difference now is that we can get high definition human beings. So whether it's with sensors that work through your smartphone to capture virtually every medical metric, or it's a genome sequence, or it's being able to do your own labs through your smartphone, all these different tools that gets each individual's data in their real world, rather than these one-off visits to a doctor in a very contrived setting, which clearly do not represent the real world as you just outlined. So being able to get your cardiogram at any time by touching sensors that are connected to your smartphone is an example of that. And it goes beyond capturing the data, because you can now have computer algorithms to interpret the data very accurately. And so you get the answer without ever having to go to a doctor. You go to the doctor now for guidance about your results rather than going to get these various tests on a one-off basis.
Now, as I understand it, the thesis of your book, The Patient Will See You Now,